The Trenches is a GoldSource modification that basically aims to be a semi-realistic first-person shooter set during the World War I. Now, I'm going to outright say it, this game is dead. Like, there's no hiding it, no one plays it. This is exactly what happens when you make a mod that is just the multiplayer. If it had like a short campaign or something, then at least it would have a bit more to offer. This, unfortunately, is the reality for many old multiplayer-focused mods for older games. Now, I was lucky to experience the Trenches thanks to the guys at GoldSource Saturdays, a Discord server that every Saturday organizes a play session of old GoldSource games. If you're interested, I will leave the link down below. So, this being a multiplayer mod, you shouldn't expect any story or anything, but it does have a pretty deep and interesting lore. You can check it out at Wikipedia by searching for World War I. It's a bit strange that they don't mention the game anywhere, but what can you do? So, skipping the story, the main premise of this mod was to offer a somewhat realistic depiction of World War I, at least as realistic as the GoldSource engine allowed it to be. So, let's start with the visuals. I have to say, this mod is kind of ugly. Now, to be fair, GoldSource is a very limited engine when it comes to outside areas, with maps feeling very small due to the lack of something like a 3D skybox that, for example, the Source engine has. But even so, some of these maps just look plain bad, with very basic geometry and locations looking abstract. But the thing about me is that I can overlook the basic geometry as long as the whole aesthetic of the mod is being kept in that style. But these environments clash very harshly with highly detailed character models. However, not all maps look that bad. There are a few which in my opinion actually pull off very decently looking environments. I think that has a lot to do with their usage of fog, masking how small these maps really are. Even some basic levels that use fog can actually pull off some pretty okay looking environments. Actually, now that I think about it, fog is actually a bit of an underused feature in many GoldSource games. Anyway, now when it comes to actual gameplay of these maps, I feel that the rule "the worse map looks, the worse it is to play" does actually apply to this game pretty well. Maps that I had the most fun at were of the bigger, more open kind, because smaller ones often just weren't fun, because it was common to just die as you spawn in. So some might ask if these bigger grey and dark environments have any visibility issues. And to some extent they have. It is a bit hard to see the enemies at time. But I do feel that this is some kind of form of balancing, as you will primarily be shooting at enemies from far distances, so making them harder to see does give them a chance to sneak past your view. Okay, so what's the actual objective of this game? Well, it's just capture the point. If you played Day of Defeat or Team Fortress 2, you know what this is about. Okay, but anything else? No, it's just capture the point. Okay, so for now we have a pretty mediocre looking game with one game mode. What's exactly appealing here? The gun. Trenches has a very cool gun mechanics. You see, like in any other FPS game, you fire with your left mouse button. But once you fire, you can't immediately fire it again. You have to manually load the next bullet by pressing the right mouse button. Adding to that, this mod has a realistic reloading system, meaning that the player character will actually load the correct amount of bullets. And there is no automatic reloading, so when our magazine is fully empty, you have to reload it manually. These two simple mechanics already give this mod way more gameplay depth than you would expect. It's very easy to quickly get off guard, because you run out of bullets. I was actually surprised by how enjoyable this was. So now you must be thinking, oh man, that's pretty cool, I wondered what it's like to play with other guns, to which I can say, there aren't any other guns. If I were to point out one specific reason as to why player lost any interest in the Trenches, I would most likely point out to this as being the primary reason. There is just one gun, not even a simple secondary pistol. Okay, to be fair, we do have a couple of other weapons. Can you guess what they are? First one is the bayonet at the end of our rifle. I guess nowadays the attack with our melee weapon would just be an additional melee button, but back then they just made it into a separate weapon. And the last part of our arsenal is a grenade, which I have to say, Half-Life already had grenades that were a bit clunky due to the simple physics in GoldSource, but I don't know how they did it. Grenades in the trenches are even clunkier. And now that we are on topic of the grenades, the trenches has classes, like in Team Fortress, and you know how many? Exactly 2 of them. First one is a rifleman, who as you can guess has a rifle, and as you know the rifle is the only gun in this game. So you might be thinking what kind of equipment the other class has. They have a stick and 6 fucking grenades. So you can just throw these however, and once you run out, you're meant to just run with your stick and hope for the best. Not sure about you, but I think that this is pretty based and trench build. So, the trenches is a sad example of many Half-Life mods that focus solely on multiplayer, which led them to be forgotten. And the thing about trenches is that it had a lot of potential. Even on its moddb page you can see that the team working on it had a lot of ideas that they were working on. Like, look, a secondary pistol and a new class? Even a mounted machine gun. If they released a version that had at least a little bit of these things, I'm sure it would leave a little bit more of an impact. Now if someone wanted to make something like the Trenches 2.0, they would most likely need to add a lot of new content and release it on Steam to gain any attention. But now I'm just wondering. In conclusion, The Trenches is an interesting little game that unfortunately doesn't have enough to offer to leave any sort of impression. Adding to a lackluster visuals that can sometimes work, but most of the time they don't, results in an forgettable title that has a lot of unfulfilled potential. But you can fulfill my potential by liking and subscribing, baby!